The GallowgateShots podcast is sponsored by Tyre Spot, the North East's leading tyre supplier with branches across the region. Tyre Spot don't just do tyres, they cover everything from servicing to wheel alignment. They can handle every aspect of your car's maintenance. For more information, visit tyrespot.co.uk. Enjoy the episode.
Hi everybody, welcome back to the GallowgateShots YouTube and podcast channel, and welcome back to a brand new year. Happy New Year to everybody watching, lads. Happy New Year, and thanks for joining us on the first of the year. It is the 1st of January when we're recording this. I hope everyone had a nice New Year's Eve and a good holiday time, but it's time to focus on another match preview. We're not doing too badly, so, these are fun these days. It's good to do, but yes, we are going to focus on the Tottenham game. I'm Scott. I'm your host for this one. And this week, I'm joined by Daryl, Joe, and Nichol. And boys, we're going to jump straight into this one because I just cannot wait to talk football because it's just so good. Like I said, it's just so good. It's just so bloody good. So it is Tottenham Hotspur. It's on Saturday, the 4th of January. It's the first game of a new year. It's a 12:30 kickoff, so it's an early kickoff for the Saturday, which means it's live on TNT, so you'll be able to watch it on the telly, and you don't need to get a dodgy box. Or you might want to. I don't know if you haven't got TNT Sports. Tottenham aren't doing too well, considering the goals that they're scoring this season. They're currently 12th in the league on 24 points, 7 wins, 3 draws, and 9 defeats. And as I mentioned, they are scoring for fun. 41 goals scored so far this season, but 28 goals conceded. That's a plus 13 goal difference. But more importantly, I think, and I don't normally do this, they've only kept 4 clean sheets all season, which I think is probably one of their big problems this season. And like always, I've got some commentator stats before we jump into it. So, Tottenham have won 2 of their last 3 Premier League home games against Newcastle, losing 1, as many as they had in their previous 7. That's 1 draw and 4 defeats. However, Newcastle have won 4 of their last 5 Premier League games against Tottenham, losing 1, as many as they had in their previous 15, won 2, losing 9. Haven't achieved a Premier League double over Spurs in just 1 of 12 campaigns between 2008 and 9 and 2021 and 22. Newcastle could now do so in 2 of the last 3. I think we did it in 2022 and 2023. And we beat them earlier on this year, which we'll talk about in just a few minutes. Tottenham v Newcastle is the most played Premier League fixture never to finish 0-0. That's over 59 meetings. There have been 189 goals scored in games between the sides. It's the 3rd highest scoring fixture in Premier League history. And Tottenham have lost their first league game in 2 of the last 5 calendar years. 1, 2, drew 1, as many times as they had in previous 16 years combined. That's 111 and drew 3. So there you go. Not great stats for them for starting the year. I think their players maybe are 2 more concentrated on the darts this time around. Nichol, mate, Tottenham. I think consistency's been a big problem with them this season.
Yeah.
And it's a bit of we don't know who's going to turn up. I think we talked about this bit about Man U last week. It all depends on which Tottenham turns up could really dictate this game.
Yeah, so as you've said, they've been inconsistent and they've been shipping goals quite a lot. I think they have got a lot of injuries, which has contributed to that, especially in defence. So at the minute, they've got a centre-back pairing of Dragusin and Archie Gray, which obviously isn't their first choice centre-back pairing. The goalkeeper, Vicario's out, so it's Fraser Foster in goal, obviously a former Newcastle player. And they've got Pedro Porro and Udogie, which are the 2 starting full-backs, to be fair. But I think that, that inconsistency at the back, we've seen with us, if we have a consistent back 5, if you like, including the goalkeeper, then we can get a string of clean sheets together. And then going forward, they obviously do score a lot of goals. So that's something we're going to have to consider, especially with Fabian Schär not playing in this game on Saturday, as he's suspended. So we'll probably see Lloyd Kelly maybe come in. I'd be very surprised if Sven Botman was to come back for this, but he might be on the bench, hopefully. But yeah, Spurs, last 5, they've only won one, and that was in the Carabao Cup to get to the semi-final. They beat Man U 4-3. So obviously drew with Wolves at the weekend, and they've lost the other three. They had that mental game with Liverpool 6-3. That probably sums them up this season. And I think I've seen in the media, I don't think he's massively under pressure, but I think Ange is coming to the time where, if they lose a couple more, then the fans might start turning properly on him. But I'm not sure that another manager would do much different with that Spurs team at the moment. I think it's a bit like Man United. It's maybe not the manager's problem. It's more the quality of the team.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned the last 5. I think it's actually the last 7. It's 1 win and 7 that they've had.
Yeah.
So it's the pressure is really on. Daryl, I think the biggest problem with Spurs, and I've seen this a lot, they tend to take early leads. I think a couple of times they've had 2-0, been 2-0 up, and then they just seem to squander those leads. And a lot of that has to do with the style of play, like play high intensity games, but they can't keep that up for a full 90 minutes. And it seems to be the exact opposite to us, where we've seemed to have had a good mix of where we do play that style of football, and we've found the niche of keeping that intensity throughout an entire game. Or if we can we know what the second phase of the game is going to be and how to manage that well, where it looks like Spurs don't necessarily have a plan B when it comes to that side of things.
Yeah, I mean, you only have to go, we actually cope quite well when it comes to Spurs, and you only have to look at the recent results, even the one earlier in the season in September at home, and obviously the result at home prior to that, where we absolutely battered them early on by utilising our high press in the game, and they couldn't cope with it, and then we found ourselves with very, very heavily favoured scorelines in our favour, obviously winning that last game in September 4-0 and previous season 6-0 or 6-1. And it's funny because the way Spurs play just seems to fall really well into our hands. And I know that we struggled at Spurs last season when they beat us. But again, when it comes to playing them, we've already mentioned how inconsistent they can be. And as Nichol mentioned, the 6-3 against Liverpool was just an absolutely crazy game. Even the Carabao Cup game against Man United, where they were comfortable and then they let Man United back in by way of Fraser Forster making a couple of mistakes. They will give a team chances. And I don't know what it is in them that makes them switch off in games after taking command and leads. And even when they do that, they still have an ability. Like, if we run it through as a scenario where maybe we're 2 or 3 up down there, they can come back into that game and we could very quickly find ourselves from 3-0 up, for example, at 3-2 or 3-3, just because of the way they can change things around. And their attack, we haven't mentioned a lot about it, but their attack is very potent and it has goals in it, and it can be very dangerous. And against what could be a potentially weakened back line without Fabian Schär in there, it's got to be a concern for us. And I'll be honest, we just mentioned there about Spurs fans maybe thinking about what to do for life after Big Ange, but they asked for this. They weren't happy with Conte or Mourinho and their styles of football, which was getting results to a degree, but it wasn't this entertaining thing that they were all craving for. And now they've got this entertaining thing, and it means that they're now inconsistent and they can't make a push this season in the league because everybody else is sort of doing the same thing. We've seen how the table looks. There's that little mini table in the middle, and then just like us at the minute, we're just starting to push out of that and break away. But there's still a clutch of teams in there who are so close together, and this is just a byproduct of that.
It is. And Joe, you'd like to think with Spurs, I mean, they've signed Solanke this season. They've got Richarlison last season. They've got Madison, Son. They've got players who can really hurt you up front. And, you look at, what was it, with 41 goals, I think I said they've scored so far this season. They should be up there with us, or, even above us, you'd like to think. Because I think it's only Liverpool and I think Chelsea who are up there anywhere near that type of goal scored when you're talking about, the goals that are coming in. So they should be up there. But like we said, they just can't keep they can't keep that mentality throughout a game to keep those score lines against them low.
Well, it's a consistent theme with Postecoglou over the last couple of seasons that he's been in charge, is that he's had this free flow in attacking football, but he keeps such a high line and he concedes space. And it's how we've managed to put so many past them over the last couple of years, you know. Where a team that thrives, as we know, on exploiting space and runners in behind and getting the ball to Isak and all this kind of thing. So, as Daryl mentioned, it's a perfect, we're almost like a perfect antithesis to what they play. And I think, again, because of how almost stubborn Postecoglou can be with his system, I do feel like it's just, it could be yet another Groundhog Day for them where we come to town and almost steamroll them if they're not careful. You're right. I mean, they've got a really good attack, and you've just listed off some players there. You know, Madison's finding some good form that he didn't last season. Son is just consistently a brilliant player, you know. Solanke, although he's not maybe hit amazing heights, he's still been a decent player, and I think he had an injury earlier this season which kept him out for a bit. So, you know, they've got really good attacking players. Now, as we said, it's the defense. It's the defense, and it's being tight at the back when it matters. And we've said for so long that we struggle against teams that are the opposite of that actually shut up shop and are able to keep it tight. So what we've got to do basically is make sure that we keep them quiet up front and then do our business at the other end of the pitch. Again, as Daryl mentioned, the fact that Burns out is a bit of a worry. Kelly's almost certainly going to come in. He's not been too bad at time. Sorry, Cher, not Burns. My mistake. Yeah. News everyone. News everyone. Burns out. No, Cher. Sorry, I meant to say Cher. But Cher's out, and it means that Kelly's probably going to come in, and it obviously disrupts a little bit of that back four. That has been actually pretty solid, you know, especially over the last couple of months. They've been really solid in keeping clean sheets, especially in December. So we'll see. But I think it's once again another really good opportunity to get a win at an away ground that we've struggled with in the past. And again, as we've mentioned, just sort of creep away from that middle pack that's been ever so present over the first half of the season.
Yeah, but it's not just an away ground, it's an away city, Nichol. It's we struggle down south, as they say. Obviously, last time around, it was a 2-1 win at St. James's Park. Goals from Barnes and Isak, and Byrne had to score for them, which was nice for them. But you know, that didn't tell the full story. I think Spurs had a lot of the possession, a lot of attempts. I think there was 20 attempts, 6 shots on target, 6 shots off target, but they just couldn't take their chances. And I think we only forced 1 save from the keeper. So, you know, the scoreline didn't really tell the full story of the game, and we weren't particularly playing very well back then. But we're the team in form now, and I think this has all the markings of it being a really good game, and it should be end-to-end stuff. And if you're a neutral fan, you can see why this one's probably been picked for the early kickoff, because it should be a hell of a game.
Yeah, I think Sky have made a bit of a theme of like any. Carragher's definitely said it, that any game involving Spurs, you know, they're excited to cover it, because there's always. It's basically always end-to-end and drama. Whether that's probably not the best thing for Spurs fans, but for the neutral and maybe for us, we can capitalise on that. But yeah, I think that game earlier in the season that you mentioned, it was definitely in that patch where we weren't playing well, but we were getting results. And then we went through a patch of playing well and getting nothing, points-wise. And now, you know, the last 5, it's clicked, hasn't it, a little bit? So let's hope that we can... Well, the lads will be going into this with full confidence. So will the fans. I mean, even going to Man U the other day, all fans were saying, you know, not expecting, but you know, we can beat these. We can, and we did. And I think it'll probably be the same. I'm losing track of days on Saturday against Spurs. So I think it'll be the same. I think we'll obviously be looking there, not expecting, but hoping to get a positive result. I think, to be honest, I think anything, you know, a point will be good. But if we can get all 3, then even better. And yeah, let's see how it goes.
Yeah, and I think if we talk about ourselves, Daryl, obviously we've talked about Shaw being out and the potential of Kelly coming in, or even, maybe it's a bit soon for Botman, but he has been sick, and I think it's the only reason he hasn't featured, because he is ready for according to Eddie Howe post-match against Man U. So who knows if he's healthy in terms of not ill. I think he might feature. But is there any chance that because of the suspension to Share, we get a change in the midfield to protect the back line a little bit, or do you think he's be mad to do that and he keeps it as is with that powerful and probably the best midfield three in the Premier League at the moment?
I think you've just got to you've got to protect that Rolls Royce midfield that we now have, and they can't be changed in any way, shape, or form, because everything just clicks together in there, and they complement each other. They work well with each other. You saw some of the moves against Man United where it was just one touch pass in between the three of them, and a few others as well who were able to join in. The thing about the lack of Fabian Schär on Saturday actually does make me think that if Sven Botman is fit, that he might actually be chosen. And I only base that on the fact that we know that Sven is good with both feet. And a lot is always made, and I always hear this in commentaries or from pundits, that you don't want to see two left-footed centre-backs. For some reason, it's all right when they're both right-footed, but when it comes to having two left-footers, it's something inherently wrong by having two left-footers. And if you go with Kelly and Byrne, that's what you're going to end up with, which is why I'm sort of thought, my thinking is that he might actually try and push to get Sven in there from the start, because we know he's good with both feet, and obviously he can also bring that passing element, and he keeps that option available because of what he can do on the ball. Don't get me wrong, if he is fit, then I'd love to see it, because we've missed him for a bit, and we need to be reminded of what he can bring to the team, because at the end of the day, if you're going to have competition between Shea, Byrne and Botman, then let's have it, because that's what we want, healthy competition. Not a slight on Lloyd Kelly, but he is there as backup really. He's the legs that's going to come in when we need to rotate the squad, when somebody needs a rest. But again, as far as the rest of the team is concerned, just to jump ahead a little bit, is the centre half is the only change I think we'll see.
Well, we did see Trippier go off injured. Well, he pulled up, didn't he, Joe? But he kind of indicated he was all right, but I think he was still brought off as a precaution because he's had a little niggle previously. So I think it's a flip of the coin whether it's him or Livramento who starts as well at the weekend. Tino did well when he came back. I mean, he was again dropped, I think, because he was sick on Boxing Day. But you've got to think it's a return to a previous club for Trippier, and he's back to his best, arguably, or back to his best he's been for us from his performances of recent times. So it's a bit of a headache for Eddie Howe if they're both fit for that right back, the right back position as well, because it could be either of them.
Yeah, it's a difficult one. I mean, Trippier's, I think what he offers is a lot more maybe stability defensively, and he's got experience, and when he's on form, he's a very reliable right back, and he's one of those players like Tonali and like Bruno, where when he's on the ball, I just trust that he's going to make the right decisions and that he's typically not going to do anything rash. I know he's had a bit of a history of a couple of mistakes here and there, but generally, as a player, he is one of the more screwed on during high pressure situations. And it alludes back to what Daryl said about that extra protection for the back four with Shea being out. I do think, though, that realistically, Tino is the future of that right back position, and Eddie Howe does tend to favour consistency in his starting 11. He doesn't like to break things up unless absolutely necessary. Typically, it takes like an injury or an illness for that to happen. Yeah. And I mean, like you say, he got brought off midweek as a precaution. I do think that almost gives Eddie Howe the excuse to just put Tino back in and say to Trippier, we'll want to protect you a little bit more. So I would probably expect Tino to regain his place into that starting 11. We're still not we're still not completely out of the woods of this congested fixture. set that we've got. We've got the League Cup semi-finals coming up. We've got the FA Cup coming up. So there's still plenty of football to be played. Either one of them two will get their chance at some point. So I would probably suspect Tino will come back in. And do you know what it is? He's an absolutely brilliant player, especially attacking. He makes these little amazing like mazy runs, and he almost brings in that extra man in midfield at times, and it helps massively because obviously then it allows other players to stretch space in other areas. So I think, again, going back to what we said about how Spurs play, attacking fullbacks, exploiting those spaces, it might be exactly what we actually need.
Yeah, I mean, the other thing we're totally overlooking, Nichol, is that Trippier may not be at the club come Saturday. The transfer window is open, and he's one of the rumoured players that, is on his way. There's a couple of players that may be on their way. We're not going to talk about anything about that, but, we could be prepared that there could be one or two players that we're talking about today may not be there by the weekend. So, you've got to take that into consideration as well. I think for me, when it comes to the right back position, it all boils down to who starts at centre back. If it's Kelly, I think it's Trippier that starts to bring that solidity. If it's Botman, then I think it's Tino that comes in because there's a bit more of a solidity in the centre back position. When it comes to the front three, though, Nichol, is it just horses for courses? Do you stick with Murphy, Gordon, Isak, or is it a Harvey Barnes coming in? And because he's been having a few cameos off the bench, is he just sticking with that cameo role as it is at the moment?
Yeah, for the moment, I think. And he will be disappointed about that. I know he's been, I don't think it will happen, but I know he's been mentioned as a name that could leave. But that's, anyone could leave. Do you know what I mean? But yeah, it's Murphy, Gordon, and Isak, isn't it? And hopefully Barnes can start doing a bit more off the bench. We saw that a lot last season when he was injured and then coming back. He had a few good moments off the bench. So he really just needs to do that when he's on the pitch to prove why he should be in the 11. I think he has got a few goals this season, and he probably can count himself a bit unlucky to be back out the team. But Jacob Murphy's he's doing his little thing at the moment, isn't he? So you can't really take him out.
Yeah, absolutely.
So yeah, that front three will be the same. And just to touch on the right back as well, you're saying if it's Kelly, it'll be Trippier. You think? I think it will be Kelly. So probably maybe is going to be Trippier maybe on Saturday, but which I wouldn't be mad at. But I do, as Joe said, Tino is the long-term right back, and he is the first choice, I would say now. So yeah, wouldn't be surprised by either. But I do think Trippier brings that bit of calmness to the squad when he's on, because I think we saw at Old Trafford when Shaw gave it away and they nearly scored just before half-time. It was Trippier that was sort of calming them all down and try and get them just to keep the ball until half-time, which they did. So yeah, probably Trippier and front three the same. We'll go on.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Daryl, mate, there's no need for card watch anymore because everything's we're back to zeros when it comes to that. Well, I think, is it zeros or does the 5 carry over and it's now
the 5 just carries over and it's just waiting for another 5 basically, or 10 or whatever.
Okay. But we will have ref watch, so let us know who the man in the middle is and the VAR assistant.
No, but that. So referee for the game on Saturday will be Andy Madley from West Yorkshire. It's his second game of the season with Newcastle United after the 3-3 draw at home to Liverpool back at the start of December. His record for the league this season, he's done 7 games so far. He's issued out 35 yellow cards and 1 red, sticking to that average as they all do. I think about 5 cards for every game that he's in. Chris Kavanagh is going to be on VAR for this one. We last saw Mr. Kavanagh on VAR for the home game against West Ham, which we very unfortunately lost 3-0. And he's also refereed 2 Newcastle games this season. Win away at Wolves, which was the 2-1 win, and also the win at home beat Chelsea in the EFL Cup 4th round, which was a 2-0 win.
There we go. So I think that's all that's left for us to do now is our predictions. Joe, mate, I'm going to come to you first for this one. What are you going for?
See, I was toying with this because before the win at Old Trafford, I thought that this game might be a bit of a banana skin for like the momentum that we've had over the last month, just because of the our history with the ground. Typically we batter Spurs at home, but at their place, they have done us over a few times, and but I think that statement made at Old Trafford has to give us that confidence now that these kind of bogey grounds, these bogey teams that we've had in the past, it doesn't necessarily carry over now, because the way that we're playing is unlike anything that we've really seen, even over the last couple of years, to an extent. So I'm actually going into this with a lot more confidence and thinking, just as a one-off game, the way Spurs play, we've already spoken about, the way Spurs play and the way that we are linking up right now, how high up Bruno's playing, the way that we're able to create chances in that final third, I think we'll do it. I really do. And I think the more we put out these sort of statement results, the more teams are going to really take us seriously, and the more it cements our charge into this sort of top 5 going into the second half of the season. So I think we'll do it. I'm going to say it's going to be goals galore. Let's be honest with you. There's not going to be any clean sheets here. I think we'll run out 3-2 winners. I think it's going to really be an absolute, box to box game, be entertaining, but we'll do enough.
Excellent. Nichol, mate, what are you going for?
I'm going to go for a draw on this one. I'm going to go for a Desmond 2-2.
Ooh.
As Joe said, there'll be goals, I think. I don't know why, but always in my head, the early kickoff is normally quite a good game as well. Never back the early kickoff. I think for the goal scorers, Isak's going to continue his run. He's going to get one. And then I think Jacob Murphy might get one on Saturday. For Spurs, I think Kulusevski will get one. And then I think they're going to equalise really late. And it'll feel like a loss, but it's still a decent point. And we'll say that Son's going to get that equaliser.
There you have it. Daryl, mate, what are you
going
for?
Well, I was actually right. I've been thinking about this today, and I've been toying between both of what Joe and Nichol have already said. And at one point, I thought, because there's no Fabian Schär, this could be the game where we do just get the draw. I just feel like it will have goals in it. It's just a no-brainer these days. I mean, you look at our recent form, we've been scoring quite a nice hatful of goals, and Spurs just conceding hatfuls and scoring hatfuls, as we've already mentioned. But I am going to just edge it towards a 3-2, like Joe. I just feel like no matter how good we are, they will find a way just to flood us out, because we have that one little weak link at the back. With the absence of Fabian Schär, I think I've got total confidence in our midfield 3 to run the game in being able to control it and whatnot. But the way Postecoglou sets his side up is when they start to flood up, then they can overwhelm the team. And I just feel like that little chink in the armour might just be the thing that costs us with that. But I do feel like we'll have enough, and I'll go with 2 for Isak again. And I do actually fancy, for the third, I'm going to go with Gordon, because I feel like he's been edging closer. Certainly against Man United, I thought he was unlucky. And I'm also going to hire into that couple of Lewis Hall assists as well, because the boy's on fire. It's funny, I mentioned it on the reaction to the Man United game, and a lot was said about how we hit Man United early and dominated that first half an hour, and then we seemed to take our foot off the pedal. And I mentioned it on the reaction to that. I think that was a warm up to this game, and we're going to see it in shorter chunks, and we're going to be intense one moment, and we're going to be conservative the next, and we're going to swap between the two as the game goes on, just to try and stem anything that Spurs might try and do to us. And that's why I think we'll just edge it 3-2.
Excellent. Well, considering this game's never ended 0-0, there's been 189 goals in this what was it, 60 meetings, 59 meetings or something it was. I'm going to go for a nice 4-2 victory. I think we're going to.
Very good.
I think they will hit us early, and I think they'll probably go 2-0 up. But I just don't think they'll have enough in the tank to see the game out. And I think we will, which will, spur us on, pardon the pun, to get the goals. Sorry, the had some Christmas crackers left over that I had open on my own last night. No, I didn't. I'm going to go for a brace by Isak. I think Tonali will get one, and I'm going to go for a Bruno to get the last one.
Nice.
Diving header in the dying embers of the game, because he seems to like that.
Just a quick note on, just a quick sort of note on that. The goals and the opportunities that our midfield are actually taking now seems to be far more than what it was earlier on in the season. Tonali's obviously got a brace in the League Cup. He hit the post the other day, should have scored. You got Bruno getting in amongst the goals. Joe Litton's had 2 in his last 2. It's good that the goals are getting spread out a little bit more. We're not having to rely as much on the likes of Isak and Gordon as we were once upon a time. So it's nice. Gives us that blanket and that consistency, you know. So it's good to see.
Well, I don't want to take any credit for it, but I think it's since I read out that commentator stat about us only having 5 goal scorers. We've started scoring from different areas of the pitch.
You're absolutely bang on, you know. Yeah,
he's right. He's right.
No, it's obviously got nothing to do with us here at Gallowgate Shots, but we'll take any credit if anyone to throw it our way. Anyways, Alex, if anyone, let us know what you think your score predictions are in the comments below. And if you're a Spurs fan watching this, how do you think your season's going? How do you think Orange Ball is going? Are you happy with this fluid attacking football that's leaking goals? Let us know in the comments below as well. And yeah, while you're down there, if you want to hit the thumbs up button, if you've liked it, that'll go a great way to get this in the video feeds of other people as well. And while you're down there, you can hit the subscribe button to get more of our videos in your YouTube feed, and the little notification bell to get notified when we post new videos. If you want to go one step further, we do have a membership program. It's $2.99 a month. That gets you early access to videos like this one, as well as exclusive access to certain videos and podcasts throughout the season as well. Boys, I'm actually looking forward to a trip to London. I mean, I'm not going, but like an away trip to London. For once, I think we're on a good little run. Long may it continue. I think this might be our season for this sort of thing. So let's hope we get another trip to London in a couple of months' time. And maybe it's against the same side. That would be nice.
Could be.
I wouldn't mind that. Better than
I'm not into predictions.
That played in the semis.
No, we've just done our predictions, but I'm not into that sort of thing. But maybe that happens in a few months' time, and maybe we get the same scoreline. We'll see. I'm saying from our predictions, I hope it doesn't happen if we do lose this game. But anyway, we're going to wrap that one up because I think we're all knackered after New Year's Eve. So we'll see you all in the next one. Once more, Happy New Year to everybody. Hope everyone has the best 2025. All the best. We will see you all in the next one. Thanks, Daryl, Joe, and Nichol for joining us. And thanks you all for listening. We'll see you all next time. Ta-da.